Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us this far. We now move on to Health Tuesday, and today we want to continue with the second part of a conversation that we started in the past month, and this is all about safety precautions, what you need to do in the event you find yourself in a situation that may cause harm or damage to you or property around you. And today we want to focus on fire safety. We have seen situations where fires have razed down houses, and in sad cases lives have been lost due to fires. So looking at the home setup, what can you do to prevent fires? And in the event that a fire breaks out, what are the steps that you need to take to ensure minimal damage and loss of life for that matter? To help us with this conversation, we have with us Jackson Mutunga, who is a fire safety trainer working with St. John's Ambulance. Good morning, Jackson.
Yes, good morning, Jen.
Karibu sana, good morning, Kenya.
Yes.
Thank you for making time to be with us today. So let's start with the basics when it comes to looking at the home setup and understanding that fire is one of the biggest causes of damage in the home setup. From what you have seen, what are some of the main causes of fire within the home setups or potential causes of fire?
Okay, basically, ignorance, carelessness, and mistakes, which can be avoided.
Yes.
They are the major causes at home. Because you find that most of people know, but at some point they ignore.
Yes.
Others don't know. So in case of an accident, it can cause fire easily. And most of the accidents or most of the risk factors which will contribute,
yes,
most of the people having fires in their homes, number one is maybe we can look at the gas cylinders which you use at home. Basically, most people,
almost every household has one.
In the urban setup, most everyone has a gas cylinder.
Yes.
So safety of that cylinder, it begins from where you purchase it. You must take it from a certified provider.
Okay.
Yes, because it has been to be checked the gas pressure, if it is okay. It has also to be checked about any leaks.
Yes.
The pipes should be well managed. And also, when you do that, when you are purchasing that, moving it to your home, at least you'll be sure which you are having. So it's a good advice for people to avoid purchasing cylinders from uncertified suppliers.
And you know, just I think it was last week there was this message that was doing arounds about those of us who purchase it, who buy gas cylinders or refill from local filling stations, and then it's transported to you via border. Yes, apparently when it's shaken too much and you come home and you want to plug it in immediately, it can be a cause of explosion. Is there any truth to that?
Yes, about that. Because you find that the LPGs, there is a liquid part of it. So the moment you are transporting it horizontally, it means that the liquid part of it will move towards the valve. So it should be, if they transport it horizontally, at least when they are in the house, they should keep it upright for some time before
plugging in your regulator and all.
Yes, because the liquid part of it, it will move. And when it moves, now it brings an hazardous condition.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So we need to be careful when it comes to the transportation bit.
So even if you transport it, ensure you keep it upright. Yes, for some time before you connect that.
All right. Now, looking at also the home setup, you find most fires are, and you have rightfully put it, started as a result of being a bit careless. Now, when it comes to minimizing this level of carelessness, what should we be conscious about as parents where children are involved, pets are involved, and potential causes of fire within the house setup?
Okay. Key number one, if you are using that cylinder, I'm going to go further to other types of carelessness.
Yes.
But first with the cylinder, if you are cooking, cook. Because at some point, you might leave what you are cooking, start doing other things. We'll have spillovers, they'll make the gas to the flame to get extinguished. Afterwards, what will happen? They'll still be leaking, and the gas will be filling in the room. So, and that creating an hazardous situation. So ensure if you are cooking, you are cooking. If you are doing other things, do other things. And in terms of other types of carelessnesses, where you are placing these flammables, that is the cylinder which you are cooking. Are there any materials which are combustible, which can get fire easily?
Yes.
You should keep it safe in a well-aerated area. And in case of kids, make sure they don't play with the gas, the burners, the pipes, and all that.
All right. Now, is there any other tip you'd like to give before we move on to the next part?
Yes, another tip for the kids, they play with matches. Maybe you are not at home, they might play with that. Ensure they're under care. And also in case of other people use even the stoves, ensure they are well maintained. Don't add the kerosene while still you are cooking. Those are safety precautions they should take.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I want us to have a quick conversation about types of fire extinguishers. And this is in the event that a fire has actually broken out in a house setup, in your workplace, but there is a fire. Now, let's start with understanding the types of extinguishers. We have a few here. Maybe we could start with the one that is closest to you. Okay. What type is it and how do you best use it?
Good. This is a water type extinguisher. It is normally color-coded red, and it is used to...
They're all red?
Yes. Color-coded. The whole cylinder is red. But the other types of cylinders, as you go one by one,
yes,
there is a coding which will differentiate each.
Okay, okay. Yes, we'll get to that.
First for water, the cylinder overall red. So this one extinguishes the normal combustible materials, like paper, just in a home setup, paper, wood, grass, clothing, and that.
Okay.
So it does cooling, drastically reducing the temperatures. Yeah, so water is for only combustible materials. So if at home, you don't need this because you have water in your house.
Use that.
Yes, you can use that water. Okay. But specific, when you are using water, there are also some precautions about this extinguisher. Number one, do not use it on live electricals. Remember, water will conduct electricity. Yes. So in case there is a fire due to electric fault, switch off the current before you use the water. Yes. Okay. To avoid the dangers of electrocution. That's more damage. Yes. Okay. Number two, about water, you might be cooking and then you have the fat fires, cooking oils. Still don't use water, because water is going to displace the... It's heavier than the oil. That fuel. Yeah. And it will cause an explosion, which can cause burns, and also it can spread the fire. Okay. So in case you are using, you want to extinguish that cooking oil, you can use a fire blanket, or you can improvise one, whereby you are going to dip a rag, also a mat, in some water, and before you go on top of that pan, squeeze the water, so that to ensure the drippings do not cause the explosion. Okay. So squeeze it out so that you can remove the excess water. Yes, so that now you can smother the flames. All right. So this is basically for ordinary combustible materials. All right. Yes. Now let's come to this little one here, close next to the fire, to the water based extinguisher. Yes. Now this is the powder, dry powder. It has bicarbonate phosphates. Now this one extinguishes fire by physically disrupting the chemical reaction of the fire. So it goes in between the molecules and it disrupts, breaks it down. Yes. And this is suitable. It is an ABC, multi-purpose. It can extinguish different classes of fire. Maybe you could give us examples of that. Yes, that is the ordinary combustibles, the flammable liquids, flammable gases, also metals. Yes. So what happens? It is best, but very messy. Yes, if you use it here, yes, you are going to escape. It's a powder. Yes, it's a powder. So it's bound to create a mess. Yes, it is bound to create a mess. So never use this at home. Okay. Yes. Point to note, do not use the powder-based extinguisher in the home setup. Yes, it is not suitable at home. At homes, yes. All right. Now, let's move on to this one closest to me. Before we go to that, just another thing, yes, a close one, about the powder, it can still cause suffocation. Yes, because you cannot inhale the powders. And in case you are using this in a confined space, ensure you clear the room immediately. Okay. Also, when the powder gets into a haze, it can cause sight problems. So human interaction is contraindicated when it comes to the powder-based extinguisher. Be very careful when using it. Each one of them has its own precautions. Yes. That's why we say don't use if you don't know to use it. All right. Yeah. Now, let's come to this one. They're quite heavy, mind you, so I may not be able to lift them up here, but let me just read out to you. This is the foam fire extinguisher. Yes, that is a foam. Tell us a bit about this one. Okay, this is the aqueous film, foamy foam, and this extinguishes fires by covering and smothering the flames cutting off oxygen supply.
Okay.
Remember, for her to be there must be oxygen, fuel, and the heat. So when you use the foam, it will form that cover and denying the fire oxygen, thereby it will be extinguished. Suitable for class B fires, that is flammable liquids, whereby you'll find there is the petrol, diesel, paraffin, and such. Yeah, flammable liquids. So it smothers the fire down.
Cuts down supply and eventually cutting down, you know, bringing out the fire.
Yes.
All right. Now, anything more before we get to move on to the next one?
Yes, there's some still, in case there is a live wire, still don't use it because there are dangers of electrocution. Remember, it's a chemical mixed with water. Still, it can conduct electricity.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should also be precautious of that.
So this one is also not recommended for the home setup?
Home setup, you'll find that you don't have those flammable liquids. Yeah, so normally still I don't see the essence of having it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now, let's come to this one. This is not labeled.
CO2, that is carbon
dioxide. Okay.
Yes.
Tell us more about the CO2 based extinguisher.
The CO2, this one simply displaces oxygen, which supports combustion. So once oxygen is displaced, what happens?
The fire
ceases to
breaks down.
Another thing, it also cools down the fire because it has a cooling effect when it is exiting the cylinder. So it can displace and also it can cool.
Okay.
Best for several classes of fire, but most times you'll find that it is not suitable when used outside. It can extinguish class A fires, paper and that, because of the pressure. It is pressurized gas.
Okay.
Yes. Because of that pressure, not suitable when used outside. So indoors is still very much okay. But you should be careful still. In an enclosed room, once you use it, you exit the room. Because we don't breathe in CO2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need oxygen. So use it in a room, exit.
Okay.
Still addition on it?
Yes,
Another thing, you should be careful when using it. Precautions. Number one, you should be aware of the loud noise.
Usijishtue.
Yes, there is an explosion. Okay, the noise, the horn, it has a horn, unlike the others.
This is the horn?
Yes, that is the horn. It looks like a vuvuzela. How does a vuvuzela sound? Loud.
Quite loud.
So expect noise, loud noise when using it. And another thing, you see where you are holding?
Yes, here.
Yes, that's where you should hold it.
The right place to hold it.
Yes, because the other parts are very cold. It can cause a cold injury to your skin.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should be very careful when handling that.
Now,
yes.
Let me ask something. Those two have almost the same type of nozzle.
Yes.
And even this one.
Yes.
Is that a factor that we need to be to pay attention to when it comes to how we use these extinguishers, the different types of extinguishers?
Okay, for example, you find the water and the foam. For example, you are seeing this nozzle
yes,
for projection, a jet. For example, this one for foam, you know, it has to build up, so that's why it has this extension here, so that it builds up, it gives it time to bubble up, yeah, so that it can form that cover. Okay. Yeah.
Now, also when it comes to handling the extinguishers, let's talk about the distance that you need to be standing between, or rather the space between you and the fire, or the point of which you're trying to put out the fire. What should you know about that?
Okay, the first thing, even before you start using the extinguisher, you should keep a safe distance. Start with 3 meters, 2 to 3 meters, and as you continue extinguishing the fire, you can come closer depending on the success.
So the 3 meters is sort of a universal distance that is supposed to be effective,
yes,
when it
2 to
comes
3
to
meters.
using the extinguisher.
Yes, because it is pressurized. Yeah. So what happens? The extinguisher content will be projected towards the fire. So don't come too close. Yes, because even at times you'll find that they can fail. And when they fail and you are closer, the risk is high. So at times you have to test it first. If it is working and if it has the right content, yes. Then at 2 to 3 meters, start extinguishing the fire. The more you become successful, the more you come closer.
All right. Now, how often are we supposed to replace the extinguishers if we don't get to use them, and we hope to not use them as often as possible, but you find some sit there for years on years? How often are they supposed to be replaced?
Okay, number one, we have the servicing at least once in every year. So you can do it, let's say, after every 6 months, whereby they can be inspected. And when you talk about the general inspection, they have to be checked the pressure gauge. You are seeing this. These are pressure gauge, except the CO2. I'll tell you why the CO2 doesn't have pressure gauge. The rest have pressure gauge. Why? This is water. You cannot expect this water to be projected out without any pressure. So there must be some CO2 or some nitrogen kidogo, which will be added inside so that it can help to create that pressure.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one, the pressure gauge, you check. It must be at the green zone. Yes, because you can have it, the pressure gauge is 0. It has weight, it has content,
but it
cannot help you. So you cannot use it.
Consequently failing to assist.
Yes. So the black indicator should be within the green zone.
All right.
That's number one, to check whether it is okay. When you go to the CO2 extinguisher, it doesn't have a pressure gauge. Why? Number one, is already pressurized gas
in itself.
So it can propel itself out. So what happens, this one, you check the weight on a weighing scale. For example, these are 5 kg. CO2 cylinder. But the 5 kg is the content. When you weigh it, it will be about 15 kilograms. So you see the cylinder alone is around 10.
Yeah.
Because for it to withhold that pressure, it must be a strong metal. Yeah.
All right. Now, when it comes to, you find yourself in a burning room or a burning house,
yes,
what should you not use to cover yourself when you're trying to escape?
What you do not use?
Yes, and what can you use? Very briefly, you're almost out of time.
Good. What happens in a home setup? We have the normal combustibles, the normal cloth type, cotton type. So before, you can use that, but don't use it dry. You must dip it in water first to make it heat resistant. Then you can cover yourself and exit.
Okay.
And another thing, if you have a fire blanket, this is a fire blanket. You can also use this one because there are ones which are 1.8 meters, 1.8 meters. That one can cover your entire body. So you can cover yourself and exit.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the event you don't have a fire blanket or material that you can, or you don't even have water close to you to dip whatever material you have to dip in water, and your clothes catch fire.
Okay.
To prevent bodily harm, what would you advise our viewers to do?
Number one, when my clothes, let's say for example, are on fire, number one, someone can get scared and they'll tend to run. So when they run, that's the biggest mistake. They should not. They should stop, drop down to the floor and roll. So when they are rolling, they are smothering the flames. They are cutting off the oxygen supply.
Okay.
And as they roll, they should be covering their
face
with their hands to avoid burns to the eyes and burns to the airway. Because the eyes, that will cause a disability.
Yeah.
The airway, when someone gets a burn to the airway will swell. When it swells, it blocks. What does that do? It can lead to death.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, due to the constraint of time, we'll have to pause at that particular point, but that's one thing I want us to take home. When the clothes you're wearing catch fire, don't run. Stop, drop, and roll. Cover your face to prevent any burning on your face to, avoid further damage. But again, as I said, this is a series that we are having here on Good Morning Kenya when it comes to safety precautions that you need to take whenever you are in a situation that demands so. And today we have been focusing on fire. And of course, we haven't exhausted it in this one sitting. We'll be having more discussions to better empower you to know what to do should you find yourself in such situations. But for now, we have been speaking with Jackson Mutunga, who is a fire safety trainer working with St. John's Ambulance. Thank you so much for making time to be with us. We hope to have you again to continue with this discussion. All right. That is that in terms of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for staying with us this far. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning for another fantastic edition of Good Morning Kenya. I'm Jain Wambui. Have a lovely day and enjoy the rest of your viewing.